By the time, any areas to discuss from what we have discussed up to now? Any clarification? Yeah.
Suppose
I can't
I
hear you properly. Hello.
until others join, can you please clarify this
We can hear.
adjustments and administrative expenses? Question number 1.
Which area?
So question number 1.
Yeah.
Under adjustment number 3, under administrative expenses, could you please tell me how to adjust this B and C, sir?
Which B and C? You have to refer to the.
Amortization of right of use asset worth 3.6 million.
So yeah, right. What it? Right of use asset. Amortization.
Amortization of ROU asset 3.6 million.
So what is mean by amortization?
In the
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
It's a provision, sir.
So then?
Disallowed.
Yeah. So then?
All right. Then C.
What is C?
It says the ROU asset and lease liability represent the SLFRS 16 adjustment with respect to a lease agreement entered to use a vehicle park. During the year, a new property was leased and the addition to the ROU asset was 55 million. Total actual lease rental paid during the year 6.5 million.
Yeah. So then, I mean, the first thing is what we recognize under the ROU assets? Anybody from the forum? Or can somebody explain? Because we have discussed this thing in the lectures. Any idea what is mean by ROU for tax purpose? Hello? Nishara? Aroni Deva with Aaron. Prakash? What is meant by ROU asset for tax purpose? Is Prakash there? So basically ROU assets means assets which we obtain under lease. What type of lease? It says right of use that is that. So for the tax, that is accounting purpose, right? Right of use assets means we have only right to use asset. Just to use. So it's more or less rent for tax purpose. So if we are making any payment for the right of use assets of the say tangible asset, it is cost as rent. You can see the definition for the rent. So it says right of use of any assets. Let me to show you what we have discussed. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Right.
See.
So rent. Rent means a payment including a payment of a premium or likely amount for the use of or right to use property of any kind. Right. So right to use of any property. So that itself says that ROU says right of use asset. We have the right to use asset, but we don't have, we are not the have the absolute ownership for the, we don't have any options to get the absolute ownership. Therefore, it is more or less coming under the rent, right? In case of the intellectual property, just like intangible asset, that is coming under the royalty, right? uh, Intellectual property or that type of thing that is coming under royalty. But this type of assets, so the tangible asset which is coming under the rent for tax purpose. So what is the difference between the ROU assets for the financial perspective, financial accounting perspective? We recognize as a asset to the financial statement as a right of use asset, which the period is substantial period, not for a shorter period. If it is shorter period, even in the financial accounting purpose, we recognize as rent payment, right? So the difference for the right of use asset and the rent for financial accounting purpose, basically the lease term period. The period is more, or say, some considerable period. So then it is recognized as an asset. So this standard right of use asset is standard that for the reporting purposes introduced, you can see. So big company just like uh, airlines. So even in Sri Lanka context, previously we obtained airlines from the Emirates under the lease, operating lease, not under the finance lease. So therefore, that company is generating income, but they don't have asset in the statement of financial position. Therefore, this standard was introduced. So if the lease period is considerable period, so we recognize that asset to the financial statement, and we recognize that amortization. Say if you are recognize the assets, we can depreciate that assets. So over the period of lease, we are amortizing the asset, right? So the amortization is depreciation is the actual accounting adjustment. Therefore, we are disallowing. But actual rent payment, we can deduct. Rent payment, uh, which is connected to the particular period or the year of assessment, the relevant part we can deduct. And apparently, when we are recognizing the asset, so other side we are recognizing interest on lease asset. So that interest is also disallowed for tax purpose. Therefore, two adjustment. First thing is amortization, anyway that is disallowed. Second thing is lease installment payment. That's the actual rental payment for the period. That should be deductible expenditure, provided that asset is used for the production of income. Third one is interest expenditure recognized to income statement on ROU assets. So that is also disallowed. Right? Is that clear?
The first one you said, sir?
It is.
The first one, what did you mention, sir? I didn't hear that.
First one is that amortization recognized the income statement. Amortization and lease interest is recognized to the income statement, which is disallowed. But lease installment pay on asset which is used for the production of income is deductible expense.
Thank you, sir.
Any more question?
And also regard to the donations,
Yeah.
it comes under cash and goods. Could you please, we know that cash you can fully disallow, and when it comes to donation, could you please brief that, sir?
Now, anyway, donation is not incurred in the production of income. No, it is disallowed. So we
Even
have to
it
check.
is,
Sorry.
even it is done by goods, fully
No.
disallowed.
Yeah. It's not expenditure incurred in the production of income.
When it comes to the assessable income computation, sir?
So that is something that is we have to check whether it is coming under the qualifying payment. So if it is qualifying payment, yes, we can deduct. Either cash or the goods based on the criteria that criteria is met, yes, we can deduct.
Yes, sir.
Right? So shall we look into the value-added tax question?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I will move to this question. This is Comfort Container Private Limited is a company incorporated in Sri Lanka specialized in the manufacturing and sale of plastic containers. The raw material required for the manufacturing process are imported while utilities are procured from local suppliers. The company's products are distributed both in the domestic and export market. So basically, it's give that information related to what type of activity they are doing, and you to decide the some activities are exempt from VAT, some are liable. Right? If there any exempted item, we have to pick from that. The following information has been extracted from the draft financial statement. It's the financial sales, local sales export. So this is plastic container. So it is liable for VAT. There is no exemption. So local sales, you're liable at 18%. Export shall be considered as zero rate supply. It is liable for tax at zero. So subcontract manufacturing service to exports. So that is also services rendered in Sri Lanka, in the value-added tax. So tax is charged on the taxable supply, which is made by a registered person on taxable activity in Sri Lanka. So there are two basically rate applicable. First thing is standard rate, it is 18%. Other thing is supply or the exports of article or any services rendered in or outside Sri Lanka to party outside Sri Lanka. If the earning is remitted to Sri Lanka in foreign currency, that is also treated as zero rate, right? And apparently there are another supply we recognize that is coming under the SVAT. So if the exporter can register under the SVAT category, as well as person who supply to the exporter shall also be recognized under the SVAT. So then in that context, they can supply their value or their taxable supply under SFT scheme, which is no cash involvement is happening in terms in the settlement of VAT portion. Right? So the subcontract manufacturing service to exporter, that means that services has been made to exporter. There should be information given in the question whether the party is registered for SVAT. If it is the case, this is also need to be treated as a taxable supply. We need to work out the output tax, and equal amount we can claim under the tax rate, right? So other income, it says dividend income, which is not liable supply. Profit on sale of land. So it says profit on sale of land, supply of land and improvement, we need to work out separately because the value of supply, there is a way to work out. That's why we need to pay additional attention on that part. So additional information given, the total proceed from sale of scrap material and raw material amounting to rupees 460,000. Remember, if the exam is telling that the total proceed from sale of scrap or whatever thing, proceed from sale of something, right? It means that if it is taxable item, it is including tax, inclusive of tax. Local sales are made to retail shops, which are registered for VAT purpose. Sales represent the amount recognized in the sales account during the 3 month period ended 31st December 2023. So then you know that if you are keeping accounts, so we are not recognizing that part as a part of the turnover. Therefore, anyway, that sales is net of VAT. So it's give an indication that total sales is net of VAT, recognized in the financial state, right? Other than additional information given in that particular item, we have to make that adjustment, right? According to the agreement with the exporter, sales proceeds are received within 90 days from the date of export. So that is you to take measure on that. They are sales term in context of export is 90 days. There's a rule that in the value-added tax says that if somebody's in case of the exporter, if some exporter is failed to bring that export proceed within 6 months from the date of exports, relevant input tax is disallowed. So it's gives some sort of hints there. Any input tax which is attributed to the exports, there is not possible to disallowed under that category. Which category? If the this export proceed, sales proceeds into Sri Lanka within 6 months from the date of exports, that input tax we can claim. Otherwise, that input tax is disallowed. So that disallowability is that information is given that disallowability of the input tax under that ground is not relevant for this question. At the request of Patricia customer, with a renowned shopping chain in North and Eastern province, goods worth of rupees 126 or 24.6 were delivered on December. Invoice for those goods were issued on January. So you remember there's another question in our question bank, also very similar thing. It's need to recognize what is the time of supply. It is important in case of the value-added tax because VAT is charged at the time of supply. Time of supply for goods means in the earliest occurrence of out of four scenario, which account what is that date of invoice, date of money received or received, uh, due date of money received, and good delivery date. So out of four scenario, what is the earliest occurrence? That should be considered as the time of supply, right? And there is another exception for these two rules. Out of these four scenarios, if the first occurrence is date of goods delivered, and within 10 days that invoice is issued, so invoice we can go to the invoice date and consider that is the time of supply. We can consider the date of invoice is the time of supply. You can see. So they have delivered goods, but they have not issued invoice within the 3 month period ended 31st December. That indicates that this 124.6 million is not there in the local sale. Because local sales mysteries, we to recognize sales, we should invoice that is the valid document for the recognition. The risk and reward is transferring at the point of at the invoice is issued. So just if we are delivering good, it doesn't mean that risk and reward has been transferred, right? So therefore, we need to check whether within 10 days invoice has been issued. In this context, actually the invoice has been issued after 10 days. Invoice, the goods was delivered 23rd December, but invoice was issued on 10th January. Therefore, date of delivery is the first occurrence. This 124.6 million we need to consider as a taxable supply for our tax computation, right? The subcontract manufacturing services were provided for direct exporters of food products. These clients are registered under the SVAT scheme in the RIP and RIS category. So this give an indication this sales made under the SVAT category. Therefore, that particular supply need to be recognized under the SVAT supply. So remember that we need to work out the output tax, and also we can claim tax credit for the SVAT amount when we once we work out the final tax liability, right? VAT paid on the importation of raw material amounting to rupees 121 million. VAT paid on import of machinery was rupees 10 million. VAT paid on purchase of accessories from local supplier, total of rupees 36 million. So it's about the input VAT paid on our inputs used for the making for this supply. So it says import raw material, import machinery. So that is coming under the importation. VAT paid on imports of goods. VAT paid on purchase of accessories from local market. That is VAT paid on local sale, local purchases. So we need to check is there any disallowable amount. Otherwise, that is relevant to the relevant for the making and taxable supply. We can pay. right? Input tax attributed to the taxable supply can be paid as against the output tax. A block of land recorded under the investment assets were disposed during the year, during the period for rupees 22 million. This land was purchased in 1981 for rupees 12 million and revalued on 1st April 1998 at rupees 50 million. Sales commission and other charges paid amount to rupees 800,000. So in case of the land and improvement, how to work out the value of supply? We have to consider total proceed what we receive from the land and improvement, and we can remove market value of the land at the time of the supply or the date of the sale. And if there any improvement on the land that cost as of 1/4/1998, we can deduct. So difference is considered as value of supply, which is liable for value. So remember, in that type of supply, basically, improvement part is liable for value, right? So it says that it's a block of land. There is no any indication about what is there on the land. So improvement means something built by the person, right? Says indirectly says building. But if you are making or if you are selling a bare land, so there won't be any value addition on that part because total sales proceed minus the market value of the land means the same. So if I am selling a land today, say 100 million or 200 million, that is the market value, right? So sales profit is 200 million, market value of the land also 200 million. So there won't be any valuation, right? So, but if say I'm selling a land with a building, say I purchased the land 2002 with a building for 150 million. If I am selling that land today for say 250 million, so I can work out the value addition and supply of land and improvement. Total sales profit 250 million. From there, I have to deduct market value of the land from the rate of supply. So balance is considered as the value of supply, right? So pay attention for that part, especially. VAT has been paid on services obtained for the following. That is input VAT again. That is machinery repair, the service, transport services, sales of which 50,000 according to the transport services used for the factory staff transportation. Then paid for machinery and building, director's car repair. Remember, in connected to the disallowable input VAT, there are few grounds. First thing is, as I mentioned, that input tax should be connected to the taxable supply. So that input should be used to make a taxable supply. Otherwise, if that input is used to exempt supply or excluded supply, that particular input tax is disallowed. That's the first rule. Second rule is, we to claim input tax, there should be a valid tax in it. It's mandatory. If you don't have valid tax, that is also disallowed. Third rule is, even though that input VAT incurred to make a taxable supply, even though we have valid tax invoice, if we are not claiming within the period specified in the Act, that input is also disallowed. Claiming means we need to set off against the output tax. In case of the local purchases, input VAT paid on such local purchase within 12 months, we have to claim. We can deduct against output tax. Any input tax which is not claimed within 12 months, it is also different. And also in connection to the importation, input tax, which is not claimed within 24 months from the taxable supply period of supply, that also disallowed, right? And other ground is input VAT connected to the motor vehicle which is used for traveling purpose. It doesn't say that it is traveling purpose motor vehicle. It says we can claim input tax on vehicle used for goods delivered, that type of thing. It directly says input tax which is connected to the motor vehicle or any the expenditure connected to the motor vehicle which is used for traveling purpose, that is disallowed, right? Thereafter, there's unabsorbed input VAT brought forward from previous taxable period. Company has collected all the simplified VAT paid vouchers, and thereafter it says but the tax. So in this question, I have given that the tax rate need to be considered as 15% because it is 30%. December 2023. In your case, tax rate is 18%. If it is there or not, you have to consider it is at as 18% for standard supply. There is no changes to that, right? Right. That is the background of the question. So I will share one model answer for this one. So remember, so in the computation we practice in the lectures also, I divided into basically 4 categories, but there is no that type of format in that. So the easy reference I'm doing. So it says first part is says output tax. So output tax could be on standard rate supply, zero rate supply, and excess supply. And second part is input tax. Input tax could be import of goods, local purchase of goods, local purchase of services. This is the total input tax. From there, we have to disallow. If there is disallowable input tax, we have to remove. And then allowable input tax. Remember, if there is a zero rate and excess supply, first thing is we need to allocate the allowable input tax to that particular supply. In any case, any input tax which is directly attributable to the zero rate supply, we can deduct. But if there's a mix, that means input tax input we have used to both for zero rate supply and standard supply, then we have to go with some sort of a proportionate basis. So ideally, it should be based on the value of supply. Right, so that amount we can deduct. But last thing is relevant to the standard supply. So if there are any unabsorbed brought forward input tax, we have to add the total input tax which is allowable. It can be set off against the output tax on the standard rate supply is limited to the output tax of the standard rate supply. Right, in this case, 300 million. Right, so but actual input tax, allowable input tax connected to the standard supply is under 90. So therefore, entire thing we can deduct. Thereafter, tax credit need to be deducted. Right. So let me to explain how we should work out this output tax. Right. I have refers to working 1, 2, 3 likewise. So working 1 is says standard supply. Standard supply I have mentioned here. Local says 1,875,000,000. Right. 1,875,000,000. And supply of land and improvement. So it says land and improvement I have taken as separate, sale proceed minus market value of the land. It is because same, there is no. And scrap sales, that is inclusive of that because it says the total amount received. Therefore, I have to divide that by, in your case, 118 and multiplied by 100. This is divided by 115 and multiplied by 100. I am repeating again. Now your tax rate is 18%, right? So the sales, I told you that rate of good delivery is the time of supply for this context. So that need to be considered. Altogether, this 2 billion is the total standard rate supply. 2 billion total standard supply on that because the rate at that time period is 300 million. Then zero rate supply, exports of goods coming under the zero supply. That's only, so that is coming under here. Asset supply, they have make a supply to exporters, that is coming under the asset supply. That I have worked out here separately. I have declared here. Remember, this is the on the standard supply. In case of zero supply, there is no VAT amount. Zero. And asset supply, it is, I told you it is making in Sri Lanka. So therefore, just like standard supply. So we need to work out the output tax. The same amount we can claim as tax credit. Same. So tax rate can be claimed equal to the output tax on set supply. Total amount from there, I deducted input tax. So how I work out input tax here? Input tax on imports, goods, raw material, machinery, even capital. Input tax paid on capital goods we can deduct. Then the total 131 million. That's how it came here. And local purchase of goods separately, accessories 36 million. I took here. And then services. So I work out the total amount first. In the first steps, that's machine repair, transport, rent paid, motor repair. Everything I have considered. Remember, I want to show small things regarding this. So the VAT input VAT paid and local purchases, which is connected to services. It says that transport services 150 million. Input VAT paid on transport services 150,000. 150,000, sorry. Of which 50,000 per into the transport services used for factory staff transportation. That is also part of the taxable supply. It is transport of goods, not the transport of transport of goods or passengers, which is connected to the taxable activity. So in that context, we can claim. Public transportation services is fixed, right? There won't be any input tax, but in this case, it's used by the company, just like say they have hired vehicle and on that hiring they have paid some hiring expenditure on that. There's a VAT that can be claimed. That even it says separately 50,000 per day into transport services used for factory staff, it is deductible. But remember, if it is any vehicle which is used for the traveling purpose, say input tax paid on that type of service, it is not deductible. It's visible. Right. So then I work out first total input tax paid on services, 2.8 million. I have considered everything we connect to the input tax, 169.8 million we have it as total input tax. And there I have deducted VAT paid on motor car repair, right? Input VAT paid on vehicle used to traveling purpose, or any input tax paid on any expenditure connected to the such type of vehicle is this one. So once we deducted that thing, total allowable input tax. First thing I allocated, which is connected to the zero rate supply. Because zero rate supply, there is no restriction. Entire thing we can claim. Right? It goes as this. 169.8 divided by 3 billion. The total allowable input tax is 168.3. The total allowable input tax. The total taxable supply is 3 billion multiplied by value of supply of the zero rate supply and SSR. 775 million plus 225. It says 56.1 million. That thing we can set off against the output tax. Once we claim part of the allowable input but against this zero rate supply and SSR supply, balance thing is relevant to the standard supply. There's a brought forward input tax. Here says unabsorbed input tax brought forward from previous tax was 707 million. So that need to be added back. So total amount that need to be added. Total amount is now 190,200,000. So in that context, in the connection in the input tax claim on the standard supply is limited to the 100% of the output tax on that standard supply. So the output tax on the standard supply is 300 million. So therefore they can claim up to 300 million. So therefore 119.2 million they can claim against output tax. Say a simple example, say we have total input tax which is relevant to the standard supply 3,019,000 319 million 200,000. So then it is limited to 300 million. So balance 19.2 million we can afford. There's no restriction to the period. Any period, up to any period we can carry forward, but subject to same limitation we can. So once we claim the input tax, difference is the tax payable or refundable. In this case, we need to make another payment. So thereafter we can claim tax credit. So it's at rate voucher amount we can claim, whether it is sales or not, as tax credit we can claim. And installment VAT payment connect to the period we can claim. So therefore you should know what is the date of payment. So it says this payment has been made during that 3-month period. First one says on October 19th, 2023. Second one says on November 16th. Third one says 15th December. So out of these payments, so first thing is not related to this particular taxable period. Reason is that VAT is paid on monthly basis. In connect to the taxable period, which is 3-month period, first month liability need to be discharged on before 20th of the next subsequent or the second month of the same taxable period. Second month liability need to be paid on or before the 20th of the third month of the same taxable period. So these two payments are relevant for the period. This 40 million, 40.6 million is not relevant for this. Therefore, we can claim 43.35 each month. So once we claim all those things, there's a balance tax liability that need to be paid as the final or the full tax liability for the period, balance tax liability for the period, right? 10 months. Friends, small hints. I have no plan to this. I mean, the check that exact part in the exam this time. So, but other part will be there. Basically, what we have discussed in the class lectures, that we did some question. Please practice those questions. Any question?
Sir?
Yeah.
So the question mentions that local sales are made to retail shop chains,
Yeah.
which are registered for VAT purposes, right? So
Yeah.
doesn't that indicate that that 1,875,000 that belongs to SVAT? Why?
No. Yes, sir. They have separately mentioned. So basically, person who can register under the SWAT is direct exporter. Person who registered under section 227. And any person who is making his total supply to exporter or person who registered under the 227, or their total supply out of total supply more than 50% is supplied that one, that he can sell, he can register under the strap under the category of RIP, that's here registered by purchase. And person who make the supply who has to register under the RIS. So therefore, if there is no chance to local seller to register under the category of RIP, that indicates that they are not under registered under the RIP category for Israel. Therefore, it is not registered sale. RIS category can make a supply under the SWAT to RIP only. Yeah.
Okay, so clear.
Any more question?
So can we use short forms when we're writing the answers? Is that okay?
Sorry.
Can we use short forms when we're writing the answers?
Short sums means?
Like disturbance, mean we can say just this and that.
Yeah, if you are clearly mentioned, I mean that clearly shows that it is deducted. Yeah, that can be consider. I mean, when you are computing here, the answer, if we are showing here, label under that total input tax under that is and minus, yes, I can.
No,
I
sir,
can
mean,
understand. I can understand that you know that principle.
no, I mean, sir, when it comes to the wordings, can we just say this and dot input tax?
Yeah, that's what I mean. But you have to show the total amount, and then you have to put
Okay.
that. I mean, you have to mention that it's less.
Okay, sir.
Also, sir, that the sales proceeds are received within 90 days from the date of the export. That is important because of that 6-month condition
Yes.
that you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is to get an idea that they don't have any disallowable input tax under that particular condition. Connection to the export. If that export proceed is not going into Sri Lanka within 6 months, it's actually this amendments came into 2022. Reason was that we faced that dollar crisis. Therefore, to as a solution for the dollar crisis, they have made and changes to 2 acts. One thing is Exchange Control Act. Second thing is for Tax Act. So both income tax and VAT act. It says that if you are bringing that money if you have failed to bring that money within 6 months from the date of export, in connection to the VAT, that particular input is disallowed. Because they cannot consider this as we cannot treat that as that sale has not been done, but it is because it says exports. What they have given them, they disallow that input tax. So therefore, indirectly they are liable for VAT. They have to pay some sort of penal provision, penal amount for the fine in terms of the disallowable of input tax. That clear?
Yes, sir. Also, sir, with regard to the disposal of investment assets,
Yeah.
do you mind explaining that one more time?
So, I mean, it says that because land and building, either it is investment asset or the capital asset or the depreciable, under the depreciable asset. Basically, land is not coming on the depreciable asset, but if there's a building, it is coming in depreciable assets. That category is not relevant for the value-added tax. So, this gives some sort of indication that that is only land they had. Because you know that under the income tax law, we learn capital asset, which is a part of an investment, then realization we have to consider separately. So in that context, it says that this information is not much relevant for this value-added tax purpose. What I want to highlight here, that is separately kept as an bare land. And in case of the value-added tax, even if you are selling a building which is used in the business as a depreciable asset, it is subject to it. Even you have a land, either it is coming under the capital asset in the business or the capital asset as part of an investment. If you are disposing, definitely yes, we have to consider that computation. We learn how to work out the value addition, value of something.
So basically, only if they have sold above the market value,
No,
we
take
will.
it as this. So how to work out the value addition on the supply of land and improvement? Total sales proceed, right? Minus bare value of the market value of the bare land, market value of the bare land at the date of the supply, date of the sale. And also, if there any improvement, cost of improvement to the land is in the case that they have done a building on the land, construct on a building on a land, on the land, then the cost which is remaining as of 1/4/1998, they can deduct. Otherwise, There is no chance to we to deduct any other thing. Say I am selling a land which is 100 million worth of land. Let's say cost of land is 100 million. But if we are selling today, say at 150 million, my total land proceed from the disposal of land is 150 million. Market value of the land also 150. That's why I say there is no valuation. It shows zero. It is not a zero supply. It is value of the supply is zero. So ideally, you know that we discussed the concept of value addition, right? So in case of the land, if somebody is not done anything on the land, there is no value addition to the land. That's why that is the base principle behind that. Why that land is not liable for. If somebody is making a construction on that, so that is the value addition.
Right, so clear.
So remember in the value added tax, somebody registered for value added tax, whatever supply is making, it shall be considered when we work out the computation. You can remember, even if you have taken transferring from the taxable activity to non-taxable activity also need to be considered. Say, I have a shop, there are few employees working there. I am giving free, goods to them. Right? They are using for their, say, domestic purpose. For my side, it is taxable supply. Not necessary to sell. Say, I am donating something. That is also considered as a supply. That's right. That law is, I told you that very dangerous law in terms of taxes. That's how we supply. Okay. Hello.
Okay, sir.
Any more question? It can't be evaluated. No. Hello. No more question? Simply focus on this type of thing on local sales, services, and input tax. Right? Shall we just look into that question? So is the sale also? So start reading. Is engaged in the imports and distribution of cellular phones and accessories within the local market. So they are import and local sales. The following details has been given in the part ended 31st December 2023. Distribution of imported cellular phone and accessories. As a note, says the company still is the exclusive distributor in Sri Lanka approved by the renowned phone manufacturer in China. So remember, even though they are using the word of distribution, it doesn't count or the coming under the distributor specifying the SSCL Act. SSCL Act says this registered distributor means local manufacturer who appoint a person to distribute his goods in the local market at a given or the wholesale market at a given price. Local wholesale market at the given price. So this context it says they have appointed this as a distributor in Sri Lanka, but that manufacturer outside Sri Lanka therefore shall not be considered as distribution. So reason is that in connection to the distributor's income, if it is qualified for the registered distributor, total turnover from there, we are taking 25%. And in this context, it is important local sales, important local sales, including local buying and selling. Total sales on that 50% need to be considered for SSC. Right? Bond repair services, that is services. In case of the services, total amount we have to consider. Total sales. Turnover. Additionally, the company has paid a social contribution levy of rupees 1.2 million. Remember, not like VAT, we cannot claim any SSCL paid on our purchases. It is not deductible. Company made payment, they are given the details of the payment payment during the period. So here also remember, SSCL is paid on monthly basis, computed for the quarterly, so the return is on quarterly basis, but payment is on monthly basis. Say quarterly, taxable quarter starting from 10 to ending in December. So 10 Feb and March for that 3 month period, the first one liability, that is January liability, need to be discharged on or before the 20th day of the February. February liability need to be discharged on or before the 20th day of March. March liability or the total or balance liability for the taxable quarter shall be discharged on or before the 20th day of the month coming after the particular taxable period. That means 20th April. So in the context of the taxable period ending 31st March. Right? So
දැනගන්නෙත් නෑ කියන්නේ නෑ.
hello. Right. So then one payment is not relevant to this period because it says the company made rupees 22 million November and 2 million December. There are two payment. November payment means October payment. This payment is within that taxable period, so we can claim. December payment also within that taxable period. So it is relevant for our period, right? There is no additional payment. And furthermore, company has an excess payment of so much. So any excess payment for previous period can be considered as advance payment to this period. Right? So answer for this question. This one. So 150 million on that 50% will turnover. SSCL is 1.8 million. 25 million is the service fee. Entire 100 million, 100% we have to consider that 25 million. So on that 2.5%. Taxable, no credit available for the SSCL paid. Thereafter, for input that we can claim. The installment payment, if any, we can claim. Until this is not the final answer. Refund is not possible. If any excess payment can be carried forward to next taxable quarter. So what is the due date for the payment they're asking? State the due date for the payment of social security for a taxable quarter, any quarter. So you can mention that the first month liability of the taxable quarter need to be discharged on or before 20th of the same month, or same taxable quarter, second month of the same taxable quarter. Second month liability need to be discharged on or before 20th of the third month of the same taxable period. Balance tax liability shall be paid on or before the 20th of the month after coming of that particular taxable period. Right? Return it will be submitted on 20th of the month coming after the taxable period. But remember, in case of the value added tax, right, return it will be submitted on or before the last day of the month coming after the taxable period. Right? Is that okay? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So is that possible to do the question number 2 as well?
Sorry guys, I had to plug my connect my computer for the power. Yeah, sorry, I can't hear you. Any question you asked?
No, sir, if possible, shall we do the
Yeah,
question
yeah.
number 2 as well?
Yeah, I will discuss question number 2. Yes, discuss another question 2. Any other thing regarding the VAT and CCL?
So VAT and SSCL, they are from section B, right? So they're
No,
optional.
no, no. VAT is section A, SSCL not section B. So section A is corporate income tax computation, non-resident tax computation, and VAT
So all three are compulsory.
compulsory. Yes.
Right.
VAT contains 10 marks.
Sir, in our paper, is there a question from advanced income tax?
Advanced income tax computation.
Yes.
You mean that how whether it is liable and the rate and that type of thing what we discussed last period?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, also under the section B, yes. Connect to the investment income and with applicability of withholding tax. Right? Right. We look into this non-resident tax liability. It says, I will read discussion. Finland Management Services, FMSL, a company incorporated and resident in Finland. Finland. So it's given indication that Finland, its company is incorporated and in the exam, the question itself says it is resident in Finland. So therefore, it's a non-resident company for Sri Lanka tax. It's engaged in the providing business restructuring and consultancy services. So what their business also they are telling, it is business of rendering services which is connected to the consultation. The company has been offered a service contract by Mikat Air Travels. The company incorporated in Sri Lanka. A resident person. Obviously, they are obtaining a services from non-resident person. Therefore, the resident person make the payment to non-resident. That means that shall be considered as a source in Sri Lanka. If there is a source in Sri Lanka, then non-resident person is liable for Sri Lanka tax. So the agreement period is 6 months. So they are giving some sort of indication that the consultancy period, what period, with a total contract value of rupees 300 million agreed upon by both parties. The contract value also given. Has approached by several other companies in Sri Lanka, considering the demand. FMC established a branch office in Sri Lanka. They have set up a branch office in Sri Lanka. So if they have set up a branch office in Sri Lanka, it says that there is a permanent business location in Sri Lanka. Therefore, irrespective of whether the time period they are doing business in Sri Lanka, they are chargeable for Sri Lanka income. In Sri Lanka, of course, we have a DTA under double tax evidence agreement. Yeah, it's not there attached to this one. It should be coming as an annexure to your question paper. So we have a DTA. Therefore, under the Article 5, para 2. So if the branch office shall be considered as a permanent establishment, right? Thereafter it says that the branch operates from rented premises. Like in the context of the exams, they are telling that when they have operated business in Sri Lanka, please remember that the expenditure connected to the period for the year of employment shall be deductible. So because they have started the business May, 2023. That means 11 months for the 23-24 is they are operating in Sri Lanka. The branch office has recruited suitable individual, that type of thing they have given. That total service fee 200 million. Out of 300 million, they have considered 200 million. Expenditure, they have mentioned staff salary, pay PTF, donation. What is this other expenditure, right? Profit and loss they have given. So asset purchase they have given. Remember, there is no deviation from the composition of assessable income either for the non-resident or the resident person. The same provisions are applicable. So staff salary, staff EPA, PTF, donation, depreciation, entertainment, communication, office rent, finance cost, management fee. The type of information has been given. Contribution made as to comply with Sri Lankan labor law. That means EPA, PTF has been paid. So asset has been purchased. Thing on that they have charged depreciation. So if that asset is used as for the making or service, that means can be considered as a depreciable asset used in the business. We can claim capital allowances. Expenditure income for the family party is included here under the entertainment. So the month rent is 500,000. The property owner has requested a 2-year rent payment and the relevant its tax has been deducted from the payment. So its tax has been deducted, but we need to check what the rent is relevant, how much the rent is applicable for particular year. The finance cost was incurred on the capital provided by the head office of to facilitate the establishment of the branch. So under the Article 7, finance cost, interest cost we cannot deduct. We are paying as to the head office unless it is a real reimbursement of expenditure. Whether it is not part of it, head office expenditure, it is head office obtain that from third party and they are paying and it is reimbursed from branch. So management fee also not deductible under Article 7 with Sri Lanka, Finland DT. Right, so asking the question is requirement is discuss the chargeability of FMSL for Sri Lanka income tax purpose, compute the income tax liability, and state the rental tax payable. This is rental tax payable to be state. Compute. So we'll see that answer. The chargeability. So it says company Finland management services 56 incorporating doing business in Finland. Company only having a branch office or the business location Sri Lanka. As such, it shall be established that principal office is also in Finland and management decision is also taken from Finland. Therefore, FMC is non-resident company, person for Sri Lanka income. Right? The detailed explanation. According to Inland Revenue Act, in the case of non-resident person, the person's income from employment business status is chargeable to the extent that the income arises so derived from a source in Sri Lanka, subject to income tax. Is rendering service to resident person in Sri Lanka and received service fee income, therefore it shall be established that FMC has a source in Sri Lanka because in case of service fee paid by resident person, it shall be considered as a source in Sri Lanka. So that company is rendering management considered that is their business, therefore this income is coming as a part of their business income. So creation of permanent establishment. Permanent establishment means takes place of business with the non-resident person enterprise is doing in Sri Lanka. So Article 5, Para 2 says P is included special branch. Therefore, shall be considered as a permanent establishment. So therefore, tax and right. Article 7, Para 1 says if there is a in case of the non-resident person having a business income from other state through a permanent establishment, the profit attributable to the permanent establishment is liable for tax in the source country. Right, same thing I mentioned here. And conclusions, branch office is liable. Profit attributable to the branch office is liable for Sri Lanka, chargeable for Sri Lanka. How to work out? So assessable income. from business, investment, other source I mentioned, yes. Right? It says net profit before tax, we start. Net profit before tax, then adjustment. So salary cost is incurred for the production of income liable. Funds are accrued, therefore liable, not incurred for the production of income. Donation disallowed. Depreciation provision as are not allowed, disallowed. Entertainment anyway disallowed. Communication incurred for the production of income allowed. Office rent total payment is so much. It says 11 months, 500,000, 5.5 million we can deduct. So finance cost we cannot deduct under the DTA. And management fee also not deduct under the DTA. So capital allowances says we have worked out capital allowances because they have started in the 23 May 23-24 with the month they have a year they have purchased assets they have 5 years period. In case of the software intangible asset we have to check how many periods, total 8 million capital allowances, 97.25 million, say 90.97.25 million is liable for tax at 30%. This is total tax payable in Sri Lanka. And it says remittance tax liability, it says if they are remitting profit means from this income 97.25 million, they can deduct this 29.175 balance on that balance profit. They have to pay 14% back, remittance tax in Sri Lanka. Okay. 14% remittance tax in Sri Lanka. So in which can say if I to demonstrate the liability of remittance tax, so compute the remittance tax liability, marks can be allocated. Is that okay?
So
Yeah.
in the question, first para it says the agreement period is 6 months.
Yes.
What's the connection between the question and that clause? Because we are doing this question for 11 months and agreement is 6 months.
Yeah, it's because year of assessment. So you remember that year of assessment, the concept is what I checked is year of assessment. It is for the, I mean, there may be period where dragging, that type of thing can be happen. In case of the say consultancy period, say even that agreement is for a 6-month period, they are staying in Sri Lanka. I mean, in this case, they have a branch office. Because of that under demand, they do other business in Sri Lanka as well. Not only this one, right? And other thing is because it especially says that they have a branch office because of that there are so many opportunities they had, therefore they have set up a branch office. Otherwise, they may come to Sri Lanka only to provide that particular service and they can go.
It says
Right?
independent agent, right, sir? Not a dependent agent.
Not really. That is something. So I mean, let's say they are coming to Sri Lanka to do some sort of services and they can go without having a fixed place in Sri Lanka. So in that context, the period where they stay is important. If they stay more than say 183 days in the Finland agreement, then it shall be considered as a permanent establishment, irrespective of whether they have a physical location in Sri Lanka. That's why that details has been given. Right?
Excuse me, sir.
Hold on that
Excuse me, sir.
This is Finland agreement, Sri Lanka agreement. So under agreement, Article 5. Branch office is here, right? So in the management services, furnishing of services, that number of days is material. If they stay in Sri Lanka 183 days, it shall be considered as, even though they don't have a branch office and office, factory, workshop. If these conditions are no more there, but the number of days is more than 183 days, still it shall be considered as a permanent establishment in case of this type of activity, furnishing of services, including consultancy and by enterprise to employee or other person. Basically, it says services. This says service based fee. But if it is a construction related company, then it says if they have a building site, construction assemble or installation project, basically project, drilling rig or ship used for exploration or development of natural resources. So that is also the important point is number of days. Otherwise, it shall not be considered as a permanent establishment. So permanent establishment එක කොයි නැති එක කොයි වුණොත් difference is if there's a permanent establishment, we have to consider as a separate person for Sri Lanka tax. Irrespective of the period they are in Sri Lanka, total income we have to consider. And we need to work out the assessable income, taxable income, and work out the tax. But if we don't have a permanent establishment, the taxing right goes to country of residence. We don't have. Source country doesn't have taxing right. It says the profit of an enterprise contract shall be taxable only in that state. Only in that state means where they resident. Unless the enterprise carries on the business in the other contract through a permanent establishment. That is the difference. Is that clear? Agent means they are not coming to Sri Lanka, but they have a representative in Sri Lanka. In this case, they are directly coming to Sri Lanka. Say, they have appointed a person in Sri Lanka. Through that person, they are doing that business. Then that appointed person can be considered as an agent. Clear? That's the difference between agents basically.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, now, regardless of whether there's a PE or not, would the company be liable to withholding taxes even if it's below 183 days?
No.
So if it's below 183 days, they don't have to pay the withholding taxes for the service fee.
But you need to check a few more things, not only this one, because this is their business income. No? It's very clear, right? They do rendering services. That is their business. In that context, it says profit of the enterprise shall be taxable because it's a business profit. Taxable only in the country where they resident unless they have a permanent residence in other country. But it goes as a royalty. Then it's different issue. Interest, royalty. It says difference. Royalty means they have some sort of software they have given to Sri Lanka to use. It is royalty. Right?
So, sir, even though local provisions say that service fees are subject to a withholding tax.
No. Service fees is not subject to withholding tax in to the company. It is only for if a person make that payment to resident individual, remember. Service fee. So non-resident person is anyway that is 14%, not that 5%.
Right, sir.
Clear?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Royalty in case of the service fee, which is paid to non-resident person, it is 14%, not that 5% withholding tax. It is 14%. Anyway, it is liable. Is that clear? Two things.
Yes,
three things. First thing is that withholding tax on the advance income tax on the remuneration. Second thing is advance income tax on the investment related payment, just like dividend, royalty, interest, that type of thing. Third one is service fee paid to resident individual or non-resident person. If a company paid service fee to resident individual, then it should be prescribed payment, specified payment, just like say doctor payment, that type of thing. Then it is subject to 5% if the payment is more than 100,000. But if the service fee payment to non-resident person, it says non-resident person and not individual, non-resident person, it is 14% tax. Right? Remittance tax. But in this agreement, because it is coming under the business income, we cannot tax them.
Understood. Sir. Yes.
But if it is coming under the royalty, then we have a taxing type on the invoice value, 10% we can deduct as per this DTA.
Yes.
It says May. Clear?
Yes.
එතන මේ වචන මෙන්න මේ this wording is important. It says may. So shall. Here it says shall. Shall be taxable only in that state. Right?
Yes.
Exactly. Clear. Right. As per the Finland Sri Lanka DTA, yeah, that management fee we cannot tax. But India Sri Lanka DTA, it is possible because it says royalty and technical service fee. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, in the non-resident question, the first part is a 5 marks question. So do you expect similar kind of answer that is in the marking scheme?
Yeah, that's all. These are basic thing. It should be. මම highlight කරලා තියෙන ටික උතර බලන්න. He is a non-resident. They have a source in Sri Lanka. They are chargeable for Sri Lanka tax. Literally වෙන කතාවර points ටික තියෙනවා. Right?
Okay.
Literally යන්න ඕනේ නැහැ, but I mean I have given a comprehensive answer. බංගර කියන follow you have to follow that thing. It's a non-resident. They are rendering service, that is their business income. They are rendering service to Sri Lanka. They don't have a permanent establishment or whatever thing. So the service fee paid by the resident person, it is chargeable for Sri Lanka tax. However, because this is business income, B2 tax, there should be a fee. So fee එකක් create වෙනවා කියලා confirm කරනවා. Then ඊට පස්සේ කියන්න ඕනේ අපි tax කරන්න පුළුවන්ද බැරිද කියලා. Clear? වාක්‍ය පහක් ලියවන sentence පහක් ලියවන. Is that okay?
Okay, sir. So can't you give a hint about the DTA?
එන්න මට එන්න. Hello?
Can't you
And I
give a hint about the DTA that you are
DTA will be given in the exam. Relevant article only I am giving. Article 5, Article 7, if it is relevant, that Article 12 or 15, that thing I am giving. We read some DTA in Sri Lanka, I mean the discussion or just like say China, India, Singapore. In I think Singapore DTA is last exam. This therefore plan this China is China can be a part of this. Right? Right. So in case of the non-resident person, I don't mind if you're keeping a note on this thing as well. Say if any transaction happening outside Sri Lanka, just like this one. Say somebody can, some non-resident can come to Sri Lanka to do some sort of services. For example, I can say, I can tell you that say somebody, we have a contract to construct a, say, some sort of capital project. So we are entering into contract with non-resident person. Now it's more or less that either consultant-based fee or construction-based fee can be created. So therefore, number of days is matter. Unless they have a branch of it, that type of thing is Sri Lanka. Right? Say that contract can be split to two. Just like say construction part, in construction part, they can do other construction thing outside Sri Lanka and they can bring that thing to Sri Lanka and fix. So then if somebody is having a contract outside Sri Lanka, settling negotiation and settling outside Sri Lanka, then it cannot be considered as a source in Sri Lanka. It's the importation of tangible goods. Second part, second agreement is connected to the service, then it can be considered as source in Sri Lanka. Right? So we discussed very similar in the area. Remember that one. We can recap that area. Okay. Hello.
Okay, sir.
Right. So sorry guys, I checked with the SAP. They are not. They're giving the green light to me to release that marking scheme because marking scheme actually with them. You can see that some changes are in the marking scheme also. Final marking scheme. Final marking scheme means once I share with them, they are keeping as their property. So it is with them. They are not very much keen on because අනිත් අය දුන්නද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කවුරුවත් දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා කිව්වා lectures එක. ප්‍රකාශ්.
So I asked for Miss Jennifer. She told me she will look into that setup. So still she not respond to me. So I will check later. Sir.
Sorry.
I told Miss Jennifer.
Uh,
So she told me she will check it with Sapira. So still she not respond to me. I will check with her.
I think they are not. They are
Yeah,
not
I
in
will.
that way because among other lecturers as they have given to you, no.
The lectures මේ ඩිස්කස් කරපේවට දුන්නා ගවර්නර්ස් එකේම දුන්නා කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ
Marking
ඒ කියන්නේ පේපර්
scheme
එක
එක නෙමෙයි.
නෑ ස්කීම් එක
Scheme.
නෙමෙයි ආන්සර් ටික
Ah.
විතරක් දුන්නා.
That's right.
එහෙම එකක් තිබ්බා. නැතුව හැබැයි අපිට මේ ස්ක්‍රීන්ෂොට් වලින් එහෙම අපි බලාගත්තද ඉස්සුව ගන්න මේ එසර් ස්ක්‍රීන් එකේ පෙන්නනවනේ. ඒ ටිකේ.
Hmm.
You can manage it. Right?
Right.
Okay.
I don't know whether I think there is no another batch coming very recently. I don't know whether I may continue with them or not. But I going in the future I thought of that make that proposal. So I'm because in my case I'm not worry about I can release that this thing, but as per the policy they are not sharing it. That official icon because it is just like you can see that in my answers I have in a very structured way and but it doesn't contain any validity, legality. මගේ personal account තියෙන මෙතන. But the paper I have mentioned this thing is if you are using this one, it should be approved by them.
So please share the answers. Sir. It will be very useful.
Answer එක නම් දෙන්න ඕනේ ඔයාලට හදන්න පුළුවන්. Paper එක දෙන්න මම දැන් exam. So no point of this. No point of this thing because you have to develop that question. You need some few question and model question I have put it to that LMS. Right also. So what I can do, I will do another one. The other thing. Saturday this paper, right?
No, sir, Sunday.
Sunday, okay. So Saturday you have exams?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
So you see, we can have another discussion.
Sir, can you please share a model correction paper?
Question paper then now. very similar. I mean, not much. That's what I told you. Very not much. I'm not going to change the structure, but some. I mean, the some. I keep some sort of thing as a standard quality that I am maintaining, but not changing much.
So
Okay.
questions come under section A won't be changed, right?
Won't be mean the structure is very similar. Right?
Sir,
So,
so section B will consist of SSCL and 2 other theory questions.
Yes.
Okay.
One question I can give that print on that liability of this taxes. Whether that payment is liable or that payment not liable, or likewise. Right. Another question you can answer based on your general knowledge on that what we learn. It's an open question you can answer. Right.
can you show the answers for the first question so we can just take the screenshots and share with the students?
Prakash, that can do. So yeah. So we start from the net profit before tax. That in this question. We'll read that question quickly. It's a Subhastra Private Limited, a company incorporated in Sri Lanka, specializes in the manufacturing education toys for children. The company export 80% of its products to the European market union. The shareholders are directors of the company arms Harshana Fernando and Hansi Fernando, both resident of Sri Lanka. The following information has been extracted from the financial statement. So it says that net profit before tax and turnover, capital structure, reserve for this thing, right? And profit from the disposal of machinery, dividend income, depreciation charge for the year, amortization, ROU, gratuity provision, spend liquor entertainment suppliers during the year, penalties, directors foreign travel, ticket accommodation, their immediate family members, repair cost, addition finally spent on improvement of the old machinery. The period year of investment has been given. Legal charges, distribution expenditure, advertisement, donation. So it's donation toys, goods donation. Remember that it's even it is a food charity, goods donation are deductible under the qualifying payment. Business promotion, CSR expenses, that is also not deductible when you have collectively income, but we need to check whether it is deductible under the qualifying payment. Up to the so national council still, so we can deduct. Land, building, asset, right? Addition, disposal, motor vehicle, machinery, motor cars, office, computer software. So thereafter, we will given what happened during the year to the asset base. NROU assets, finance cost income, sales interest, import loan, the construction loan for building, interest income, interest saving, lease interest, ROU, exchange gain loss on translation and transaction, gratuity payment, paid to fixed payment, quarterly installment, import loan, lease rental payment, right? So we start that from the profit before tax. So any other income part we have to first remove and thereafter we can adjust. So in that context, dividend income, which is only coming under the investment income as well income from investment. Disposal of machinery used in the business depreciable asset that should be adjusted for tax purpose as part of the business income. We need to account that taxable charges or balancing allowance. So none, the provisioning disallowed, depreciation, amortization, gratuity, entertainment not allowed, that is legal. Penalty, breach of law, it is not deductible. Foreign travel, business thing we can deductible, but domestic expenditure, accommodation to family and all those things not deductible because this is export company, so directors may visit their supplier or the buyer or whatever. Repair cost we can deduct, but improvement cost it is subject to maximum deductible amount. Total we have back. Thereafter we are working out what the amount what we can deduct. Improvement cost of the machinery and capital losses claim written down value. So we have written down value there on that because of machinery 20% we can claim. So by deductible amount is 2.4. Deductible amount is 2.4.
Sir, there
Yeah.
you have not provided the cost of the asset that the improvement cost is relevant for. So are we to assume that
Sure.
the cost of the machinery, we're supposed to take that from the place, from the table, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. That's fine, right? And thereafter, improvement via cash donation that not deductible. Legal charge, which says cash payment exceed 500,000, that is also not deductible. Advertisement expenditure, it is incurred for the production, yes, we can. Donation, anyway, we cannot deduct here. It can be deducted under this part. So this one says good donation not deductible. Cash the good donation to the government, yes, we can. But here we have to add that. Business promotion expenses. Other than gift, it is deductible. Gifting is not deductible, it is add back. CSR is add back. Capital losses we work out. We need to work out separately. Assessable charges or balancing allowance need to be worked out separately. Interest cost on import loan. Interest cost on construction loan RO units. So this thing anyway, first we add that because it's not disallowable, but thereafter we have to work out what they want, what we can deduct. Deductible amount of interest cost separately. Right? So investment income we need to work out separately. We are removing here. Exchange gain, loss, transaction amount I have added back here. Translation I have removed because unless the company is keeping accounts in LKR, we need to separately work out. Other than translation is not liable, that means it's not realized. Transaction means it's realized. Gratuity payment, lease liability, lease all assets, all the rental payment, we can deduct. Remember, මම දැකලා තියෙනවා this common experience what I had. So අපේ experience එක ගොඩක් කාලෙ මේ ටික මුලින්ම හදාගෙන යනවා. ඊළඟ page එකට යනකොට මේවා මාරු කරලා දානවා. මේ පැත්තට දානවා. Plus minus මාරු කරලා දානවා. ඒ කාරණා be conscious on that thing. Continue that I told you that you keep to pay the at least page for this computation. So consistent විදිහට හදාගෙන යන්න ඕනේ. ඉර මාරු කරලා ගහලා ඊට පස්සේ so I cannot afford marks stage transfer here to here. Right? I that's a common mistake I saw. Most of it මේ මුලින් ටික හරියට හදාගෙන ඉන්න ඊළඟ page එකට යනකොට මාරු කරලා දාන්න plus and minus පැත්තට. එහෙම කරන්න බෑ. Just like say gratuity payment මේ පැත්තට දාන්න. plus පැත්තට. Right? සමහර අය මෙතන දාලා හිම් plus minus දානවා. That's fine. Okay. I'm not telling to use to see this thing, but if you are using this thing, it's very easy for me. I mean, you to even whether you know or not, automatically adjustment is going correctly. Right? So we are claiming this one. capital allowances. So මේ ROE asset එකට දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒක මේ පාට ROE asset එකක් තියෙනවා.
Excuse me,
Right.
sir.
So yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Can you explain the translation and transaction gain? Why is it allowed and then disallowed?
So there's a to discuss that what is this ruling issued by the department. If there is if the company is keeping accounts in LKR and having transaction in other than LKR, there may be a realized and unrealized gain. So transaction means say if you are making a purchase and say settling this supplier. So then in that transaction there may be realized gain. It can be considered as a realized gain. Translation means just to convert that what is this? We have opening balance of debtors, which is dollar in dollars, say dollars in this case because it is exports, and ending balance. When you are converting there may be a different deviation because of the change of the exchange rate. That is conversion gain. It shall not be, the liable considered for part of the transaction. Therefore, we are not considering. Right? But if somebody is keeping accounts in LKR, other than LKR, then we need to consider what is the amount relevant to income and expenditure. It shall be considered as a part of the transaction, irrespective whether they realize or not. With regard to the asset and liability, there is a disposal and realization. In that context, we have to consider difference between the cost and the historical amount what we recognize and the realized amount. Right?
So if that's so, then translation gain should be disallowed, right?
Translation gain is not taxable.
Okay.
Right? Right. So then once we work out this assessable income from business, we have to consider here. And then assessable income from investment, we need to work out separately. It has net dividend income, treasury bond, and FCBU interest income. Treasury bond income in LKR, it is not subject to withholding tax. Therefore, total amount, what net amount is assessable. But in this case, FCBU interest income, that is foreign currency interest, that is exempt. Dividend, it is subject to final withholding. Therefore, it is not taxable. So ultimately, that treasury bill interest income is liable to tax. Coming under assessable income, it is chargeable to income tax. We have declared that. So thereafter, donation, as I explained, donation could be cash donation to approved charity. Approved charity means the charity is, if the exam it says charitable institution, then no worry, you can consider as a cash donation to approved charity, but there's a maximum limitation, that is 1/5 of taxable income or rupees 500,000. But even though it is the charitable institution, if you made a goods donation, it is not a qualifying payment. But say government or the government institution or say specified fund, even it is good donation, we can deduct. So this donation goes to first thing is children charity. Those toys they have given, it is not deductible under the qualifying payment. But good donation to government hospital is deductible. So then taxable income, 30% rate, tax payment we can deduct. Here now we advance income tax because interest income first thing is not taxable, it's same, that is FCB interest income. On treasury bill and treasury bond, there is no advance income. Right?
The treasury bills and treasury bonds, isn't it exempt from the?
No, this time there is no exemption on treasury bill and treasury. It is not subject to withholding tax, that's all.
Right.
When the government is because treasury bill and treasury bond issued by the central bank, on behalf of Sri Lanka government, they are issuing. So it says that there's a face value and investment value. So say they are issuing at a discounted price in the market. Say 100 rupees treasury bill, they are issuing say 90 rupees. So at the maturity, we can get that 100. That is the difference is 10 rupees. That is interest. On that, they are not deducting withholding tax because that already has been issued. At the point of issuing, they are not deducting. Unless it is foreign currency, denominated in foreign currency, just like sovereign bond and Sri Lanka development, then there will be a tax exemption.
Okay, sir.
That
And
way.
so with regard to the accounting software, you have provided the estimated useful life for the new software, but for the old software, you haven't. So are we to assume that it has an
Yes,
indefinite
yes.
useful life?
Either way, I'm offering marks. Say if you assume that it is indifferent years and 20 years, and or you assume that same period they are considering 5 years, I'm allocating marks. Or even you are telling that okay, within 2 years I have considered useful life, I am giving marks.
Yes, sir.
But if the exam content says that company policy is 5 years and that type of thing, you automatically can apply it. And I mean, the other thing is your answers is script I am not sharing with any other person. I am personally looking all each and every answer script. Because no paper marking panel here. I am personally looking. Therefore, I am giving a reasonable time period to check your answers. We told that time last time some last batch එකට තිබුණා ඒ first එකකුත් තිබුණා. I think somebody has said 18 marks for more than 89 ලකුණු තිබුණා. So marks දෙන්න තියෙනවා. I'm not ලෝබනා දෙන්න I'm giving. Not greedy on me. But answer එක right යනවා. Right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
I have a small doubt on gratuity. So when it comes to provision, we are disallowing, right?
Correct. Any
Then,
provision පුතා. ඒ activity
when
හරි
we-
ඕන එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ ඕන provision එකක්. Whatever provision. Say bonus provision කියන්න පුළුවන්. මේ පාර gratuity provision දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Even any other expenditure. Say just like provision, expenditure provision made for the freight, air freight, sea freight, export companies or the so they are coming as a provision. It is even disallowed.
Okay, so then what about the payment? Why we are deducting it?
That is the actual expenditure incurred.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
It is a expenditure. Gratuity payment is expenditure. Be part of remuneration.
Okay, sir.
Therefore,
Thank
it
you.
deduct.
So,
Excuse me,
can you
sir.
show the improvement cost part of the answer?
So with regard to business expansion or entering new markets, what sort of advice can we provide?
So you have to provide. You are a Mara guy, man. So you advise that. So that is use your practical knowledge, right? So this one may Superstar Private Limited is planned to enter to domestic toy markets. Now, right now they are in export market. No, they are supplying business. According to they are evaluating the following business models. Establishing 3 outlets. So 3 outlets means that the expansion of the existing business in the local market, right? And what is this? It's the same entity. Okay. Branch means same entity. So under Subhatra Private Limited, they are set up in 3 branch. Just like say, we'll assume that Odell, they have a branch in Nogegoda, and they are going to set up a branch in say another city. So it's a branch. They're same company. So they are keeping margin and branch and all those things. They are giving that commission to what is this employees that has been given. Setting up a fully owned subsidiary. Right? They are setting up a separate entity in Sri Lanka for the cater the Sri Lanka market. Now export market is catering other company, Sri Lanka market catering other company. So subsidiary එකට දෙන commission on sale. Just like say agent. Equity funding for this venture will be required through a loan. So දෝඩාන මොකද දෙන්න sorry. So you can write all these things what whether this company because it is now export zero rate income tax එකේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ local හරි කොහොම local operation එකේ branch එකක් consider කරන වෙලාව we have to one entity so the total income in considering on the branch income we have to consider so එතකොට branch අතරේ transfer කරලා margin එක තිබ්බා කියලා impact එකක් නෑ but when they are selling outside yeah that is the profit they have to recognize SSCM වෙනවා local market එකේ export market එක නෑ VAT liable, if it is registered for VAT, that type of thing need to be addressed. So they are paying sales staff එකට pay කරන sales staff ට commission එක it shall be considered as a part of compensation. So advance income tax need to be deducted. Required capital source pursue a bank loan. So it's using for the operation. So it's deductible. So අනිත් එක separate company එකක් දැම්මොත් ඒ company එකේ they are hitting that registration threshold, they have to register it, otherwise not. Right? So that type of things are the answer. So it's actually that question, that type of question is to you to give a solution. So it should be your own solution. That's fine. But it should be related to taxes, not strategic management, the financial management. I'm not expecting that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
That is the basic, I mean, the understanding what we had done, say, as the income again, chargeability of other taxes and that type of things. And a payment take payment on days, requirement, compliance, because if it is the same company, no different compliance in the same return we can declare. But if it's a separate company, we have to register and we have to comply with those things. That type of thing need to be. Yes. Clear?
So can you show the interest cost calculation part?
Right?
So investment income part also, please.
Right. So then shall we wind up? Hello.
So what about the question number 4?
Oh, straight into that this no, this type of question I'm not testing because they are going to make an amendment to this. It is related to income tax payment. How to make that payment? We have discussed that even in the lecture, but I'm not going to test this one. Okay, please check it out. Right.
Sir,
That's the question number 6 also.
It's like a WST payment dina amount of liable another. We did last question paper.
So at last, can you please give the structure of the paper again? We know the first question, second, and the third, and the
Fourth one will be SSCL. Fifth one will be say some sort of this type of question. මේ වගේ payment bill අය වගේ liable වෙනවා මොකක්ද කියලා බලනවා. Sixth one, as I mentioned, is some sort of advisory question. It's an open question. Okay.
sir,
Yeah.
VAT correction එකේ අර 90 days කියලානේ තියෙන export income එක. එතකොට අර input tax එක මාස 6කට කලින් ඒ කියන්නේ හම්බ වෙනවා නම් අපිට claim කරන්න පුළුවන් නේද?
Yeah. There's no restriction on that. If I put it in a simple way, now today we are doing our tax calculation, assume for this month. So it says that we are getting that money within 90 days, right? So because it says that we have to get that money within 180 days in 6 months. එතකොට කියන අපි tax return එක හදනකොට ඒක සල්ලි හම්බෙලා නැහැ අපිට. හැබැයි ඊට කලින් taxable period වල තිබිච්ච එකකින් හම්බුනේ නැත්නම් we have to disallow it now. So that's what is give that indication that there is no such adjustment coming. That's the indication. Clear?
Yes sir, thank you.
I'm sorry, pass me. Yeah, the kata.
ඔව් sir.
පාටියක් කියලා ගන්නවා මම. CA එක ලියලා එයා හොරෙන් tax එක මගේ පන්ති ඉඳලා. දැන් පාස් වෙලා. තව එක්කෙනෙක් හිටියා. තව ඊට කලින් බැච් එකේ කෙනෙකුට එයාත් පාස් කියලා දාලා තිබ්බා. Good. Do your exam first. Finish that one. Right?
Thank you sir, thank you very much.
Prakash?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah. I'll stop then.
Okay, sir.
So you are one batch repository, other one. අර තව කෙනෙක් මගේ අර මේවා answers වගේ අහලා මම ඒ ටික දෙන්නම්. ඒක exam එකට not much important, but she asked that for their her knowledge I will share that one. මේ කවුද අපි එක්කෙනා ඉන්නේ? අනිත් එක්කෙනා කවුද?
Sharon,
Sharon. He's not there, right? No.
Sharon.
තවත් එකෙක් කියන්නේ තවත් එකෙක් කියනවා.
Udani.
Yeah. Right.
Sir, Mac questions නේද? Sir,
ඔව්
Mac
මම ඒක දෙන්නම්. මම ඇත්තට මම as I told you I'm not keeping these answers as it is. So this I am discussing in the class or lecture එකේ discuss කරලා answer එක එතන හදනවා. මම I am not keeping a copies with me. Right, මේ exam question එකට හදන්නේ මේ I have to give that a marking scheme. ඒක නිසා එතකොට හැම අවුරුද්දකම හැම පාරම මම එක question එකක් හදනවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන්. මේ time එකේ පොඩි මේකක් නිසා මේක ගොඩක් කරන්න වෙනවා. ඒ related question එක නිසා what we did in the lectures, please redo that one. And SSCL as well. That answers I will share with you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
හැබැයි හරිනම් ඔයගොල්ලෝ තනියෙන් try කරලා හිට answer එක මට දුන්නා නම් මම බලලා දෙන්න. With my comments. That's how it's happen in other classes. Other classes means especially in the CA classes.
ඒකට call එකක් දුන්නාම answer කරන්නෙත් නෑනේ. යමාර.
කවුද?
සර් answer කරන්නෙම නෑනේ සර්.
කවුද දුන්නේ call?
මම 16 CA එකෙන් මම call කරා දවස් 3-4ක් මම call.
මොකක්ද?
papers මොනවද කියලා අහගන්න මම WhatsApp එකකට දැම්මා. So are we going to have another session on Saturday? No, right?
Yeah, no, sure. Discussion. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good night.